Welcome to Tuesday night Empower Team Call. Tova here, and I just wanted to start us off with a few announcements before we jump into all things objections. So this is a fun call that's really helpful and tangible because everybody's going to have objections. And Christina Williams always says, you should be excited about objections because that means the conversation is started. Someone is curious. If they're not curious at all, they're not going to even really give you an objection. They're most likely just going to ignore you, which doesn't mean they won't be curious later. So before we jump into that, I just want to remind everybody every single Monday we have our corporate business events. If you haven't listened in on these, even if you have, it's different diamonds every week. So there's two reasons you should listen in to practice on how to talk about the business because you're going to find one person that resonates with you. You're like, okay, I want to say it that way. And you should really make it a goal to get someone there each week and practice your invites until you get some sort of response. So it's practice. Thursday, product events, literally perfect follow up for anyone you've ever talked to, ever. Should invite them to that. Reset is free for new people through Saturday night. So this is a great time to check in with the dudes too, if they want to get something for their wife. And you can come up with a package that's like a beauty package. It doesn't have to be geared at weight loss. I know some guys are worried about saying their wife needs to lose weight or something. Virtual office, there's a training tomorrow on that in the, I think, community page. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was really short and really helpful. I pride myself on knowing about the back office and I learned several things. So if you're around, listen in on that. If not, catch the recording. Look for bingo. We're going to do a fun customized gift for that. So we did, Sabrina made a new bingo card for us. And then briefly, I just wanted to remind you guys, start thinking about convention contests. If you haven't read all the things, I have a brief summary, but we can come up. I'm going to record a short video on kind of a few ways to skin the cat, if you want to say that. You can sweep the contest in many, many different ways. But what you shouldn't feel like, oh gosh, that's so many points. I'll never do that. It's you and a few people. It's being mindful of the packages you offer people. We really want to start people out with 150 PV. It keeps them on the products longer. They get results quicker. So they're getting a better deal. You're serving them better than starting them on just triplex. And that's going to get you more contest points. So the first tier, 2,000 points, and this is not the same as our points. Your red carpet experience in a private registration line. So anybody who's been to a convention knows the registration line can get a little clogged up. So it'll be cool that you have your own separate line and a convention gift. The next tier up gets you 20% off at the convention store, which they have unique stuff there that you can't get anywhere else. So fun hats and cups and bags, clothes. So I always enjoy shopping there. Icon party. So this is the winner's dinner. If you've heard of it in the past, that's level 3 and something about that. It's only the first 1,000 people that win it. So if 3,000 people win the winner's dinner, they only have 1,000 seats. So we want to get on that. Fourth tier, you get $400 in travel. So in essence, that's going to cover your flight there. And if you can drive, a chunk of your hotel. And then the fifth one, which I really want to get, is the custom cowboy boots and hat experience. So you get to do all those fun things. All right, I think we are gonna let Kylie start us off. Sorry if I went out of order. Whoever's next, you jump in.
So I think I'm next. So I'm just gonna pop in here. Okay, guys, so we're talking about objections tonight, and we came up with a list of what we feel like we hear a lot to give you the confidence of talking to people who have these questions for you. So tonight, my number one was I already eat healthy. I hear this a lot in just my nutrition field. And this is actually a really good objection because this simply means that they already take notice and take care of what they put into their body. So they're very curious. They already know what to look for on labels. They already know what they are probably what their goals are, but they're kind of missing the mark. So what we have to start explaining is that your bodies can't always absorb all of the nutrition that you want it to simply by just eating our food. It's also depleted, so we're really not getting the numbers that we're supposed to be getting. So really being intentional of quantities. So also in quantities of food, we're still not getting the nutritional value that we should be getting per day. So I'm coming up with a couple of examples on how to respond. First and foremost, validate them. Validate that objection. Say, that's awesome. Eating healthy actually means that you're already ahead of the game. This is going to be an easy walk for you. We're in preventative health, not sick care. So you're already halfway there. Also, number two, even with a clean diet, our bodies don't always absorb nutrition efficiently. Stress, processed food, leaky gut syndrome, these are all factors that build up. And we have heard of leaky gut. It goes into anxiety. That is a big factor of why we can't absorb nutrition. So really being intentional, sticking with your posture is really going to help as well in talking to these individuals. Also, explaining that many athletes, doctors, coaches, dietitians, they all follow this as well. So we are not just promoting, nutrition and supplementation to people who desperately need this. This is again preventative care. And so by telling them that they're already ahead of the game, that this is a path that most people take, more people will tend to jump on. So that was one that I felt like I get personally a lot. And we will also have these available for you to have these responses. So don't feel like you have to jot all this down or remember everything, but we will have these responses for you because if you haven't had these objections yet, they will be coming. So number two, this one, and in the chat, just put a hands up if you've heard this one before. I'm bad at sales. So this is a very common one. Go ahead, put it up in that chat. Have you heard this before? Yep. Yep. This is a very common one. So let's dive in. I know myself that I have said this right off the bat. So I'm right there with you, sister. Um, Validate them once again. Nobody was born a salesperson. This is a skill set. This is something I have always said, well, thank goodness, because I'm not very good at it either, but I seem to be doing something right. It's about passion. That's all this simply is. I can tell you, I am really, really passionate about seafood. I will talk about that all day long. I'm really passionate about my comfy sweatpants. I talk about that. But the difference here is that we are getting paid for our efforts. So validate what they're saying and put them at ease that there's always a stigma that we may come off as like a used car salesman. And if that's what you do, bless your soul, because it's a great position. You can make a lot of money doing it. But it doesn't always have to be scammy or schemy or look like that. It's all about your posture and how you bring it to their attention. So again, I have some responses. I totally get that. I felt the same way because I'm not a salesperson. That can be a quick and easy response. Two, this isn't about selling, it's about sharing or recommending a great restaurant, a workout, a skincare. If you really love something, you're going to tell people about it. If you really love that, Joyome and how it makes your skin feel, you're gonna tell people about it. There is no difference in being passionate and telling somebody and getting paid and telling somebody. There really is no difference except that you're smart. You are one of the top percent that actually looked past, and now you're getting smart. You're getting paid for your efforts. So keep doing what you're doing. We market things all day long, but you're making a paycheck. You don't have to know everything about this. You don't have to be pushy. Just share and connect with people. The more authentic you are, the more that people will listen. And we have systems. So explaining to people who say, I'm not a salesperson, I would never be able to do that. We have systems set in place. We have third party validation set in place. That's why we are good at what we do because it's a team effort. So never feel like you have to be alone walking in this business. You always have somebody to do it with you. So those were my two that I really wanted to hit on tonight, and I'm going to pass the mic.
Hey guys, my name is Kylie. For those of y'all that don't know me, I feel like I always say that, but anyways, I know most of y'all. I know we have a few new faces. So, my two, before I get into them, I want to say a lot of what Sabrina said and we'll share. If you guys haven't heard of the feel, felt, found method, we do tend to use that, and you don't have to use those exact words, but when you're first getting started, like when you can think about that, okay, feel, I need to use that word. I can completely understand how you feel. I felt the exact same way, or I know a lot of people have felt that exact same way. And then this is what I found, or, whatever. You don't have to use those exact same words, but it's so good. People want to just feel understood. And a lot of objections are fear-based. So if you guys can just get on an empathetic level, which is easy for me. I know Sabrina's very empathetic too. And sometimes I feel like I'm a little too empathetic. Like sometimes I have to ask Tova, I'm like, what should I say? Because anyways, but just know you want to listen to understand. You want to listen before you reply and not just you don't want to push them away by being like, well, that's wrong. Whatever you just said, that's wrong. This is why. You just want to make them feel understood and then normalize it, but also like, yeah, cast vision for to move past that. You got to give them a new perspective, right? So, the first one I'm going to touch on is I don't know enough people. And I think this is one of the easiest ones to fix or share a different perspective because I'm like, there is no limit on how many people you can meet in the world. Like, if you don't know enough people, that is such an easy fix. I think the real thing is, are you willing to put yourself out there to meet people? Are you willing to invest in relationships? Are you willing to be intentional? That's the real question because you can meet hundreds of people like easily. In the book, uh, How to Get Over Yourself or whatever, she says the clarifying question you can say back to them is, how many people do you think you need to know? You can ask that just to pick their brain to see what they think because I think people that don't really have a lot of experience in this business, if they were to look at somebody who's a diamond or just envision in their mind somebody who's super successful, I think you instantly think, oh my gosh, they have so many people on their team and they recruited. I don't know that many people. In reality, most diamonds have like 5 to 7 runners who are all in, jewels, leaders, and those 5 to 7 people know a lot of people. But getting people started out is so easy. You can make a Frank's list with them, which stands for friends, relatives, acquaintances, kids, spouses, neighbors. You can help them make a list, jog their brain. That's super, super easy. And I think that that's basically what I had for that. But I want to share with you guys if you don't know if you're trying to respond, like let's say you reached out and that was their what they came back, something you can say is, I totally get how you feel. I actually felt the same way when I first got started. I remember thinking, I'm not an influencer and I don't have a big network. How am I going to grow this? But what I have found is that this business isn't about who you know today. It's about who you'll meet along the way. Most of us start with a small circle, but as we share and connect with people, our network naturally grows. Plus, I'll help you learn some simple ways to meet new people without feeling weird or salesy. Does that sound like something you'd be open to learning? That is an easy response. And again, these are going to be in boards. And you always want to just give them that new perspective, make them feel like you understand. I completely understand. Second thing is, I don't think I need supplements or I don't need supplements. And Sabrina, a lot of that goes into what Sabrina shared because it's like the reality is we need supplements now because soil's depleted, our nutrients aren't like they were 50 years ago. We are literally to the point where we need nutrients. But instead of being like, well, that's wrong, you need to get with it, go back to yourself. Even years ago, I feel like COVID kind of put that on the radar for a lot of people to understand, oh, gut health is important. Wow, our nutrition really isn't as good as what I thought. So it gives a new perspective. But something you could share if you were to reach out to somebody and that was something that they shared with you, a good response back is I totally get how you feel. I used to think the same thing. If I was eating well, why would I need supplements? But then I started learning more about how our food is grown today versus decades ago. I realized the soil's depleted, that our produce doesn't have the same nutrients it once did, and with how long it takes food to get from the farm to the store to our plates, a lot of the vitamins and minerals are lost before we even eat them. So I'm like validating, you're going through, you're casting vision, you're telling them why, but you're not pushing them away. What I found was that even though I thought I was getting enough nutrition, my body was still struggling with energy, gut health, and bloating. Once I started supplementing, I felt a massive difference. Would you be open to checking out some information on what I found? No pressure, just something to consider. Or like either way, totally fine. I'd love to share with you. What do you think? And Tova made a great point. You can definitely plug them in. You want a resource? I did a call that's like 26 minutes. You could send that. You can plug them in on Thursdays to product calls, but those were two that I picked and some responses that you can use. So I'm gonna pass it off.
Hey everybody, I'm Kristen for the newbies. Welcome, welcome. Glad to see new faces on here. So my objection, I feel like I feel we hear the most. But again, objections are positive, like Tova was saying. It just means that there is curiosity and they would if, right? So like there's an if in there. They might not say the if, but that's what the objection basically means. Like I would be interested if I thought I needed to take supplements. If it was cheaper, which comes to mind, it's just too expensive. So, guys, there's so many ways we could tackle objections, but I have found in this business that questions are your friend. Before you jump to just shooting them combos, shooting them prices, the biggest fear factor is they don't know what this is. We're asking them to consume it and put it in their bodies, and it's not familiar. There are no commercials about this. It is not on a shelf. People around them are walking around with pink drinks everywhere, which is to our benefit, which just means there are so many people that we have to reach, right? But it also creates a fear of the unknown, which stick around for book club because we're going to get to that. But what we want to do is build the value. And the way we build value best isn't just by taking my word for it, but it's sometimes having them answer their own questions. And the only way we're going to get to those answers is by asking them a lot of questions before we jump to the point. So sometimes we have to back people up who just come right out and are like, girl, whatever this is, you look amazing, but I just can't afford it, without even knowing a sticker price, with knowing nothing, because there is a fear behind it that we're going to rattle off like, oh, it's only $800 a month. Because guess what, guys? There's a lot of network marketing companies out there putting out supplements and routines that are not cheap. Okay. They are like $300 at the baseline and they go up from there. And so they're right away thinking that that's how much it is. So sometimes just asking a question, well, first getting into, of course, we're hoping that we get a little bit more out of them than just an abrupt objection. But if you get them into conversation about what their goals might be before you get to the price, right? Using that to your advantage, swinging it back to them. Well, let me ask you something. How much is it worth to you to no longer feel XYZ? Like swinging it back, like, well, how much would it be worth like to really not feel bloated and tired and sluggish anymore? And they would be like, oh, well, I would do anything to not feel that, but I really just don't have the money. Sometimes I would go back in and say, well, how much do you really think something like this would cost? Get a gauge for what they find expensive. Because guys, let's face reality here for a minute. We all know people who are getting their lashes done, getting their nails done, going out to eat constantly, running to the Dollar Tree, Five Below, buying groceries they don't really need, but they see it and they're buying it. So what's expensive to one person is not expensive to something else. They just see more value in that. So it's our job to build up the value. So questions, questions, questions. And if you get stuck on like, well, what should I be asking? We could write up a list for you and drop it in the team page or the chat at some point. Just really good follow-up questions, things to dig deeper and peel back the onion. But again, using the feel, felt, found, I came up with, I totally understand how you feel. I felt the same way. I used to think, can I really justify spending this on myself? Because that's another thing, guys. People are feeling like, well, it's not for my kids. For my kids, I'll buy a $500 toy. But for me, I don't know. I'm not going to drop money like this to feel better. So we have to build up the worth. But then I realized I was already spending on quick fixes that didn't actually help me feel better. When I finally invested in my health, everything changed. I have more energy and better digestion. I'm even saving more money in the long run by cutting out those things. Now I see it's an investment that gives back to me in so many ways. If your goals mean a lot to you, would you be willing to explore areas we could redirect some funds? So you could go a little bit deeper and, of course, use your own words by simply saying, you know what I found that I was spending more than what I would need to cover my products on the drive-through, going to get coffee or getting those extra, spa pedicures or getting my lashes done. And what I found was that I could easily just shift those funds over and cover my $5 a day for these products, which is also a really good helpful tip, guys. Instead of giving them, if you do get to the actual price point, instead of giving them it's $127 a month, you could say it's $5 a day. Can I show you how we can make simple adjustments to cover that? Or asking them a question like, do you think that there are areas in your life where you could shift $5 a day in order to make you feel XYZ, whatever their pain point is? To follow that up, my next one was that they just don't have time for this, for the business, that is. That is super common, especially amongst moms. All of our plates are totally full, and the same feel, felt, found applies. And again, it's about value because my two objections are asking us to take something from them, right? We're either asking for money from them to pay for these products or we're asking for some time. Both of those things are super valuable to people and they don't feel connected unless it's really built up in value to want to give even a sliver of it away, right? So a good question could be, how much money would you need to make in order for you to feel like giving any time would be worthwhile? This is a really great question because now you're already seeing where their head's at. You're seeing what their goal essentially would be in this business. So if they're like, well, I guess $500 a month would be like really helpful to me, maybe $300 a month, maybe $1,000 a month. That's great. You're like, that's amazing. The beauty part is we could get there and I will be with you every step of the way. Would it be okay if we could figure out how we could take 15 minutes out of your day so we could get you that amount of money? Because sometimes they're envisioning, again, the same with the cost. Oh, this is going to be like another full-time job, or this is going to feel like another part-time job. I don't have time for that. Another simple question could be, how much time do you think I spend on this business? Because what you really want to say is between my two kids and this and that, like how much time do you think I'm devoting to this? But again, when you get their baseline, when you get their pulse check on how much they're looking to earn, validating that there's potential in earning that, and this is how much time it would take. So if they say, let's say 500 a month, you could say, that's amazing. That is such a doable goal. Can I show you how we could carve out 20 minutes a day so I could get that for you? Like it kind of like minimizes. And then last thing I wanted to mention is if you don't know who Victor Alonso is, he is an MC for Plexus. He's been at all of our conventions and he actually has a tactic where he gets in front of the objection. Okay, so he doesn't even let the objection leave their mouth. He's putting it in his pitch because he says that once people say it out loud, their likelihood of backpedaling it, it's going to be like so much harder for us to backpedal because then we get on the defense and then we are trying to go into convincing mode where he says that if we simply put it in front of them, knowing that maybe money might be a little bit of a struggle, we could put it in our pitch that way. So it would sound something like, hey, just saw you went to Disney. That's so awesome. I'm looking to go with my family later this month. Let me know all the places you hit up. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I go away on vacation, I fall way off my health routine, or sometimes I just feel like I need to start something to undo everything I just did on vacation. I found these really great simple supplements to work into my daily routine. And the best part is that it didn't take money out of my budget to start. Actually, it added to my income as I went forward. Would you be open to hearing more about the products and how I was able to achieve them without taking money out of our budget? So I've already said, like, I know you might think this is like super expensive, but let me not only share the products with you, but how in reverse we could also, if anything, add an income and you could lead with the business, or it's not going to take too much away because let's see where we could pull $5 a day out of your budget. So hope that was helpful. Passing it off.
Awesome. Everybody's covered such great stuff. So, real quick for mine, my first one is, oh, I already buy supplements. That's also a great way to start a conversation. Like, have you ever been into supplementing? Where do you buy your supplements from? So, say somebody's response to you has been, yeah, I'm good. I already have them. And so it's really these objections are just conversation starters. Don't jump the gun with like, oh, I have the answer for that. And so they're just giving you a path to walk down. So that one for me, how I'd respond, and questions I hope you're picking up here that is the way to go. Like, oh my gosh, how'd you stumble upon that one? I love, first of all, I love it that you even recognize that we need supplements. So many people don't know that, all the things the other ladies said. So, like Sabrina said, validate them and give them props and praise for what they're doing. And then be interested. Guys, you never know. Maybe they're talking about a supplement that Plexus doesn't even sell that we end up loving. So keep an open mind to what they have. And then, who recommended that for you? How'd you find that? And then I kind of, you get them to self-qualify. And my favorite way to educate people with not going at them and making them feel dumb is talking about what's important to me. And so one of the things I could say is I'm super paranoid about having clean and pure products. And that was a big tipping point with me with Plexus because a lot of supplements out there aren't regulated, specifically the soil sourcing and heavy metals can get into the supplements without us even knowing, and that's so scary. So I love that I don't have to worry about that. That's just an example of something that's specific to Plexus that I've literally never run into another company. I'm sure they're out there vouching for that. Bioavailability, that's another thing. Like, I want to make sure I wasn't peeing out my vitamins, and so many vitamins people don't realize they have to be in a certain form and they change through your digestive system. So you want to make sure they're being absorbed in the right spot and you're not peeing them out because no one's got money for that. So there you go. Something like that. We'll put all this wording like everyone has said. And customizable. So here's the thing. I'll make this shorter, but if both of us were to eat an apple right now, our glycemic indexes would be different. So our supplementation is the exact same way. The magnesium Kylie might need to function perfectly is different than the magnesium I would need. So Plexus does low dosing so we can customize and hone in on exactly what you need in this time of your life. And even throughout the year, guys, we change our probiotic, our magnesium. We know we change that to get exactly what we need. And then the last one before we stop, the people I know aren't really interested in getting healthy. So here's the overriding takeaway. When they know what you know, they'll do what you do. You just have to be kid gloves with how you teach them because no one's going to do anything if you make them feel dumb, even if they believe you. So we want to be gentle with how we educate them. And if they're already on the products, this is a lot easier. And I'd say most people feel overwhelmed by getting healthy, and with the right support and some simple system, they would do it. And most people, especially post-COVID, are really curious. They know they need to, they just don't know how to start. It's either too expensive or too complicated. And that's one of my favorite things about this. I don't have time for that. I'm busy. So breaking it down to kind of what were the selling points for you? What do you know were a few of the selling points for us? getting to at the education part by asking a question or two or three or four first. And then one thing I forgot to say on the first point is one of my favorite things to do is say they take probiotic and they buy it from the refrigerated section at Whole Foods and it's so good. I say, hey, I love people who care about health and supplementation. I would love your feedback. When you get low on this next bottle, would you be willing to try some of mine out and tell me what you think? All right. So very basic, very simple. Feel free to reach out to us when you come across. Um, Texting, these are easier to handle. Sometimes people can catch you off guard when it's like face to face and you're like, oh. So if you're scared what to do, ask them a question to buy yourself a little bit of time. All right, time for book club, guys. I appreciate, and we'll see you on the next call.